Hello and welcome to Axel Autistic with Milan, Zhang, and Gida. Today we're talking about autism and LSS-boende.
And LSS Boende means living in a special accommodation, which you did when you were 13 till you were 16. So you had to go to the special accommodation because the school couldn't give you what you needed. So your needs exceeded what I could give you as well, because we also had a situation at home with your bigger brother. So this accommodation had, it was like a tiny little village where they had houses where you were staying, and then they had like a school building, and they had a place where you ate, and you had a little theater.
I had teachers there, a music teacher. He was really nice. I felt really safe around him because he challenged me, like he made me do things myself, but he never forced me to do them. It was more like he would tell me like concrete stuff about how to deal with what I was going to do. So it was easy to hang around him. And then there was another one. So he was like one of the people who stayed there during the night.
So what was it that was so good with him?
He was also really nice. I could tell just based on how he acted. It was like really easy to hang around him because I'm also a pretty calm person. And it's really exhausting to hang around people who are constantly screaming. And when I would have meltdowns, he always made sure to come while the meltdown was going on. So he would like knock first and then come in when I told him he was able to. So he always made sure to be nearby whenever I was having a meltdown.
And then you made a really good friend there too, right?
I lived in the same house with him, so it was nice having him around. I became comfortable around him very fast because I brought up that I liked anime just like casually because mom told me to. um, and he said that he was interested in anime too. I let down my guard almost immediately just because we were talking about my special interests.
So you can say that you actually made two friends,
Yeah.
like really good friends. We don't know for life because you're pretty young, but they have lasted. Maybe we should just briefly also talk about how we try to do the transit from going to stay at that place. It felt like I was giving you up, even
Yeah.
though you were staying in the place, and I actually came and visit you pretty often, and you came home every weekend, and even more the last year. But it still felt like I had failed you, so that was really bad. But we didn't have much of a choice right then. So what we tried to do to make the transition a bit easier was that we started to talk about what you were going to do and why you were going to go there in like social stories. And actually, I think we have one of them as an example on our blog that you can look at if you want. So that was one way of trying to explain to you what was going to happen and why you had to go there. We also prepared lists of what you were sensitive to and what your needs were, so they would know that in advance. And if something happened, how would they react? We did like social stories for them as well. We had this idea because it's hard to tell somebody when they do something that you don't like if you don't know them very well. So we came up with this idea that you got a notebook where you could write everything down and then leave it outside your door. So some part was nice. You made friends and you were in a safe area and you had like really nice food.
My life was never in danger.
Your life weren't in danger, which is good. But then there were some parts that were difficult.
This little kid found out that I had hypersensitivities to like sound. He started like deliberately targeting those sensitivities because he found it funny. So even though I would like snap and start crying, he didn't realize that was bad.
The result from this was that you were isolating yourself in your room, right? And you didn't really get over that. So even when you moved to another house, you yourself locked in your room alone.
Yeah, I had massive trust issues at that point.
The situation got really bad, so that's when we decided it was time for you to move back home. So is there any general tips that we can give to people that work in accommodations like this?
I feel like the main thing is that if someone doesn't necessarily want to talk to you about their issues, you should pay extra attention to what their issues are. So, like, observe what they struggle with.
People that work there, they aren't allowed to invade your borders.
Yeah.
So they need to respect when you say no, they have to stop. So how is there a way how to handle that? Because
I mean, you don't necessarily have to walk in. Like, there were times when, like, I outwardly said no multiple times, and he decided to just, like, stay outside the door and just sit there. That works too, because you're not invading into the room and invading their personal space.
a lot of the times we assume that everybody knows what everybody else is thinking,
Yeah.
but we don't. So when something happens, just talk about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Like when you were in your room, we tried to do this, and then we were thinking that maybe you don't like it, and then we didn't want to come in case your meltdown would get worse. So then we decided to stay outside the door, because then you know that's what they were thinking. Otherwise, you might start to imagining that they didn't care, or they were abandoning you, or they thought you were misbehaving or something when they actually didn't think that. What do you think they should do? Because you were having classes
Yeah.
and you didn't want to leave your room and you didn't want to leave your bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think they should have done?
I honestly have no idea because I was stuck in that situation, so I didn't actually observe what I wanted, and I still don't know because of the fact that I didn't pay attention. So, so I have no idea what I needed in that situation.
But that's a good point. I mean, even if your answer is that you don't know, that's a good answer, because that means that it was difficult for you as well, and you can't communicate something that you don't know.
Yeah, don't prevent stimming. Pay attention to what they find irritating and what triggers their hypersensitivities. Help those that don't understand emotion by either showing them pictures of emotion with the emotion written on the picture or portrayed on the picture. Show them movies like Inside Out that are about emotion, or that like explicitly show someone or a character experiencing emotion.
What you're saying is, don't just try one way.
Yeah.
Use a multitude of different ways of communicating.
And you can talk to them about it too, what
Yeah.
they would prefer and what they find annoying or anything.
Do you have any advice or something you want to share with other kids or grown-ups that are moving to an accommodation like this?
Talk to the adults about your issues if you're comfortable doing that. If you're not, then try your best to portray it in a different way that they might understand, or have your parents tell them, which is something I do a lot. I let you tell people about my issues. If the people around you prevent you from stimming, you could tell them that you want to show them a video about stimming, or just show them a video in general, and then you can get it playing and then go to your room if you just don't want to be there in that moment.
Oh yeah, you don't have to sit through it.
Yeah, you don't have to sit there with them. Goodbye and stay safe. We'll see you next time.
Bye!